A great rugby rivalry just has an amazing new chapter written in it. The full-time whistle has just blown in La Rochelle. La Rochelle against Leinster, and it was everything that I hoped it would be. In massive contrast, bearing in mind how much I hyped up Sharks against Toulouse, and it didn't really live up to the hype. You hyped this one up, and it absolutely delivered. What a match. These are my thoughts immediately following the full-time whistle, which has just blown in La Rochelle. It had everything, drama right up to the end. My nerves are shot, and I was a neutral. So I don't imagine how you're feeling right now if you're a Leinster or La Rochelle fan. I hope once the elation or disappointment has just settled down a little bit, you just feel proud that your team took part in what is a game that is everything the Champions Cup is all about. Now, I say quite often, this is the highest level of rugby you can play outside of internationals. It's the elite tier of club rugby, and that match is exactly what I'm talking about. All-out attritional rugby warfare. 30 men that were in the trenches and the benches, which played their part too. That was just awesome. I loved it. Spoiler alert, if you're trying to avoid the result, here it comes. It finished La Rochelle 14, Leinster 16. And yeah, that amazing rivalry between the two clubs, the respect and bitterness. It's a little tightrope that you walk between those two. There was a few points in the game where it bubbled over, but the players just put everything out there, and it was brilliant. And you know, I've got some issues with the Champions Cup. I've talked about it on the channel. The pools stage feels like it doesn't have enough jeopardy on it for the most part. Too many blowout victories, too many mismatched games. Too many poor teams that are going to go through to the knockouts. But this had everything. This was elite. And fair play La Rochelle. They didn't get the result, and they'll be very disappointed about that. And that is going to affect their seeding and could affect how the rest of the competition goes. For Leinster, they've just taken a big step towards the quest for that 5th star and 5th win in this competition. And do you know what? Rather than going through the game from minute 1 to minute 80, I think I'll just give you some overall thoughts following that match. And please get stuck in the comments down below as well. Give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe too. Firstly, when you have a Champions Cup game like this with two great teams, all those brilliant players on the park, a completely full stadium that is making an incredible amount of noise, I come away thinking, I don't understand why every single professional rugby player doesn't at some point in their career, if they have the opportunity, go and play in France. Because it's just wild. I have watched games at that, is it Stade Marcel de Flandre in La Rochelle. And bearing in mind, it's a relatively small town. Well, yeah, it's a sort of medium-sized town. To have that many people turning out, and the stadium's been sold out for 5 years straight now. Tickets are gold dust. It's some crazy percentage of the people of La Rochelle turn out to watch their team, and they are fanatical. Biggest takeaway of all from that, Leinster's defence. Oh my goodness, how immense was their D? Especially, well, the whole game, but well, there were two moments, especially the first half as a whole. For La Rochelle to have as much territory and possession as they had, so much of it in Leinster's 22, and not to cough up a try in that first half. Unreal effort. The ability for Leinster to get off the line quickly and relentlessly, like phase after phase after phase, and be disciplined enough to stay on the right side of the referee. Phenomenal. And it was that first half typified it. The fact that Leinster went in 10 points to 6 at half time was off the back of an immense defensive performance. And then you saw it towards the end of the match. Backs against the wall, ahead, but hanging on. And Leinster managed to take La Rochelle from close to their own line to halfway and basically take the drop goal out of the equation again. I'll come to the dramatic ending in a minute, but I thought Leinster were brilliant. Just one person I'll mention on that is Caelan Doris. The way he manages referees is just exceptional. And I mean, in my player power ranking series, I did the number 8 video earlier today, and Caelan Doris was number 1, and I talked about his rugby IQ, and he just knowing when and when not to do things and how to manage a referee just shows just what an incredible rugby brain the guy has got, as well as being an athlete and all the rest of it. And also, he's kind of got a Richie McCaw cloak of invisibility. And I put that down to his rugby intelligence. He knows just how close to the line to get without crossing it. And he did that so many times. I mean, the number of times you see Caelan Doris, his hand just lingers just a couple of seconds on the ball, slowing it down just enough, and then it's gone. Just before the referee might have gone, hold on, pen. And it's, I mean, so what I will say, and I mean this as a compliment, because it's going to sound, if you're a Leinster fan, you might be defensive about this. Take this as a compliment. They are the best cheats in the business. The best teams do this. Leicester Tigers, when they were winning the Champions Cup, were the best cheats around. They knew when to give up a good penalty. New Zealand in 2011, 2015, talked about Richie McCaw. They knew when and how to play their jokers and play their cards, and actually sometimes give up a penalty when it's the right thing to do. And yeah, the way that they just kind of fall. Oh, I'm just falling on the wrong side of the ruck. Oh, has that just slowed you up a second? My bad. But no penalty. It's so intelligent. It really is. And I mean, there was one just when Georges-Henri Colombe gave away that brain-dead penalty for pulling off Caelan Doris's scrum cap. That was from a turnover from a La Rochelle driving more line out, which went to deck. I mean, as I saw it, Josh van der Fleer, so illegal. Jamison Gibson Park came right in from the side. But the point is, the referee didn't see it, so they weren't illegal. They weren't offside. And that's what I mean. It's a bit like linking it back to the Mac Hansen criticism of the referee, saying that Leinster got 50-50 calls going their way. Is that because, I think it's more likely, particularly having watched this game today, and La Rochelle had that baying crowd shouting for every opportunity. I think it's more that Leinster's players are just very, very streetwise and smart, rather than the referee favours Leinster. And I give them massive credit for that. Another big takeaway, Leinster scrum had big patches where they were really dominant. Owini Atonio going off. In fact, 3 of the 4 props went off in the first half, didn't they? Slimani against Kaduri in the second half was not a contest. I did think Cian Healy might go off early in the match, and they were trying to keep Andrew Porter back to finish strong. It looks like that is what happened. And along with the Slimani and Porter and Sneijman and Jack Conan, massive impact from the bench. And yeah, that was very, very important in this game. It was just tetchy. It felt old school. And it was one of those games where the highlights video won't do it justice. Yes, there were some amazing bits of rugby play and some brilliant bits of hands. The Dylan Lades try, I'll come to that. That was just outstanding. But it was the kind of niggle and the tetchiness between the teams, which sometimes spilled over. The big shots going in absolutely everywhere. The back rows on both teams. Boudehon for La Rochelle and Aldrit and Van der Fleer and Doris. Jegu, I like that guy. He looks a real promising kid for La Rochelle as well. And Baird, and then Conan when he came on. Very, very good performances all round. That La Rochelle didn't score in the first half was massive. Hats off to Leinster for that unreal effort. I don't know. I'll ask a question. Did La Rochelle play up this week? Because they're sort of 6th, 7th in the top 14 and have lost. And when they played last week with their best team and Toulouse's C team, they didn't play very well. I think it's just this competition, this opposition, just brings out the very best in La Rochelle. I thought Jack Knoll and Dylan Lades were outstanding. Suteni, outside centre, was really good as well. Brice Dulin, their whole back line did brilliantly. Leinster, massive effort up front. Scrum, they got on top. I thought they were a bit harshly done by, actually, with a couple of the scrum penalties that I was scratching my head going, I don't understand how Slimani and Porter didn't win that, but there you go. But line-out, still a little bit of an issue for Leinster. They were forced to kind of throw it to the front to guarantee getting good ball, which then shuts down your attacking options. But the scramble defence of Leinster is just unreal. Let's talk about that try then. So what was it? 2 penalties for Prendergast. No, sorry, 2 penalties for Hastoy and a penalty for Prendergast in the opening, 20 minutes, half hour. And then Joe McCarthy getting the only try of the first half, which was what seemed like Leinster's first proper attack in La Rochelle's 22. Clinical finishing, good support line, couple of pairs of hands, opened up in front of Joe McCarthy, and the big man goes over. That score from Dylan Lades in the second half, after Prendergast had put them 16 points to 6 ahead, was just 16 points to 6, and then they got a penalty in the second half, 16-9, that's right. And then Dylan Lades scored, because it would have been a conversion to equalise. That was just immense. On the right-hand touchline, Bottia, good carry, quick ball, back it comes. Dylan Lades is staying on the left-hand touchline. There's all that space out there. Hastoy with the kick pass to Lades, who's still got a lot to do because the Leinster scramble defence was so good. And I think Osborne is the guy on that wing who manages to get across to him. So Dylan Lades does the little nudge forward. That's becoming much more popular and trendy, that one. The kick pass to a player and then the kick forward from the player in possession so he can't be tackled and can get through and score. And that try was awesome. And the conversion couldn't go over, so it was a 2-point game, which is exactly how the game finished. But that does not show the drama that there was. Ross Byrne missed a penalty kick for Leinster after he'd come on. There was an opportunity for Hastoy to score from halfway. And that actually, let me talk about that moment. So it was one key moment in the game, wasn't it? So, I mean, firstly, Hastoy, who did some really good things. La Rochelle were attacking in Leinster's 22 with time running out, and they'd got the ball to the left-hand touchline, and Hastoy does a grubber kick through. You've just coughed up possession that you've worked so hard to get. And I think it was Osborne or Barrett boomed the ball back, and suddenly La Rochelle are in their own half. However, they got a penalty, which I thought was a harsh one. I actually thought Andrew Porter and McGrath, was it, were both legal there, but the penalty went La Rochelle's way, and the stop clock is going down. It gets to 32 seconds. Hastoy's just lining the kick up. Suddenly, TMO Matthew Carley wants to get involved. Oh, what's he seen? What's going on here? As it happens, all we see is a perfectly legal tackle with Caelan Doris hinged at the waist. Nothing he can do about the fact that there is an inconsequential head contact. Referee ROCHELLE just says, well, basically, like, nothing to see here, carry on. But what that has done, it's a little bit like in the NFL. It's the NFL playoffs at the moment. When a kicker's got a big kick and they're just about to get ready to take it, and the opposition call a timeout just to kind of psych them out. I did feel a little bit sorry for Antoine Hastoy. He stood there lining the kick up, suddenly stopped, and as it turned out, for no good reason whatsoever. Then there was a little argument about where he had to take his kick from, and then he goes and hits the post with his kick, but La Rochelle get themselves the scrum, setting up an absolutely dramatic final set where, again, and it's fitting that Leinster's defence is what won them the game at the end, pushing them back from 5-10 metres out from their own line to basically halfway. La Rochelle get a little bit more territory, but the forward pass eventually comes from, I think, to Tawera Carbarlo, and the game is over. But so much drama, so much intensity, physicality, desire, and the fact that the players were all winning and losing off their feet, lying down, breathless. Mwah! Loved it. It's what the competition needed. In fact, the competition, truthfully, needed more games like this. I would say the Champions Cup should have less quantity and more quality. Fewer teams, more good teams playing against each other like this. Absolutely brilliant. And not only does it have a massive sway on the pool and who gets home advantage for the knockout stages, which could be huge, it also adds extra spice for the Six Nations. France v Ireland is going to be absolutely amazing. Yeah, I can't think. I can't. The game's just happened and still got the adrenaline pumping round in my veins. So I'll leave it there for now and just say well done both teams. Well done Leinster for the win, for the top of the pool, for home advantage. I know there's another round of games to go yet, but that was a big one on the road from La Rochelle. But if La Rochelle play like that, whoever they face in the knockouts, wherever the game is, they are going to be a proper proper test for anyone. Loved it. What a game. See you on the next one.